time to call our specially called council meeting to order. As we do, we'll start with the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and I've asked City Manager Mr. Morrison to lead the invocation, and Mr. Bilbrey, will you lead the pledge? Thank you. If everybody would stand, please. Ms. Walker, would you call the roll, please?
Honorable Mayor Fowler.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Bilbrey.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Williams.
Here.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins.
Here.
Honorable Vice Mayor Hill.
Present.
If you would now please draw your attention to the agenda that we have. This is regarding the action that we took on October the 21st regarding the Parks Shop bids. I'll ask if you've had a chance to review that, and if you have, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it's presented.
I make the motion.
Okay. Mr. Bilbrey and Ms. Hawkins. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We'll move right into new business. This is to consider approval to rescind the action on the October 21st, 2025 meeting regarding the Parks Shop bids. And I will ask Mr. Morrison if he would like to speak to that.
This is just to rescind that action so we can reconsider it on the next item. So we will reconsider this under item 3.
Thank you. I would now entertain a motion to approve rescinding the action that we took on October 21st, 2025 regarding the Park Shop bids.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Okay. Is all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now we're moving on to item number 3, which is to consider approval of someone or some company for the Park Shop. And again, Mr. Morrison, that's sponsored by you, so I will ask if you would look to that, please.
Let me start, Mayor, if you don't mind. Of course, you all considered this back in October. We listened to the recording as a result of a challenge by one of the contractors who had submitted a bid, and the council discussed at that time the fact that the selected bidder back in October that you've rescinded tonight, that the selected bidder was doing another project for the city. And of course, that's a good reason to do business with people, and you've done repeat business with this particular company, and that's all fine. But the person who challenged the bid has a legitimate point that there really are some different standards that the city council should consider in addition to those kinds of things, or really in lieu of them. And so that's what we need to consider tonight. The standard is that you need to accept the lowest responsible bidder whose bid meets the score, or that you're doing a package. And the fact that you've done business with somebody before, or that you're doing some business with somebody now, is a legitimate consideration with respect to whether or not that bidder is responsible. And that is a perfectly fine thing to consider. But you also need to consider other factors. If you do have a bid that is lower, you need to consider whether that bidder does have the lowest responsible bid that meets the specifications. And if they don't, or there's some reason to think that perhaps the second low bidder is the better bid, then the city council has the discretion to accept the second lowest bid, or a different bid, or even reject all bids. But you want to consider those additional factors. So when you look at whether or not someone's the lowest responsible bidder whose bid meets the specifications, of course, you have to look at the specifications that the city advertised and bid. And in this particular project, there was a lengthy specification. It was called Supplemental 1 Scope of Work, but it had a number of lengthy details. And then you have to compare the bids to see if the bids met those specifications. I understand that Mr. Morrison has done some work on that, and talked to Bob Lane, your codes inspector, about some things, and I think he was going to present some issues about that to you. In addition, Mr. Morrison's investigated the various bidders and looked at their history of doing work and their qualifications, and those are things that you can and should consider as well. And so when you discuss this tonight, whatever you choose to do, whatever the council chooses to do, consider those factors and discuss those factors when you do so.
Thank you, Mr. Rader.
My turn, I guess.
Yeah.
So looking at the two low bids, one of the specifications in the building shall be constructed on a monolithic concrete slab. The two low bidders were Larseneer and also Advanced Building. Advanced Building has listed that they will meet all items as listed in Supplement 1 Scope of Work. Larseneer has indicated that they are building a pole barn construction where Advanced Builders is going to build what would be considered a conventional building. They're going to build an actual building on the slab, where Larseneer is going to build a pole barn style instead of the conventional. One thing that our building inspector pointing out is that Larseneer also says that his trusses will be 4 foot on center, but our day room break room called for a insulation drywall and ceiling finish, and he says that you can't hang drywall on a 4 foot on center because it will sag. So those were two things that he pointed out, stating that Advanced Builders for $500 longer, and it's a better product, which is a lot better construction. It's the more modern, it's going to last longer, and it's a better product. And also the 4 foot on center was the big difference.
Well, and it's the monolithic concrete slab foundation is what your specifications call for. So the foundation of the building, the structural foundation, has to be a monolithic concrete slab foundation according to your bid specifications. The Larseneer bid did have a monolithic slab in between the pole barn construction, but the actual foundation of the building is not a monolithic slab concrete foundation. It is a pole barn. When pole barns are where you drive the poles into the ground, and that's what holds the weight and support of the building. And that, with all due respect to Larseneer, does not meet the specifications of the monolithic concrete slab foundation. And that is qualitatively different than what your specifications provide. The reason that bidders have to meet the specifications is for the protection of all of the bidders. If someone could choose to submit a bid and not meet all of the specifications, they may be able to do the job less expensively and give you a lower price, but that's unfair to the other bidders whose bids meet the specifications. So that is an important consideration when you're looking at as to whether they meet all of those specifications. And it appears from the submission that this bid for $149,500 does not meet the specifications, whereas the bid for $150,000 even does. In addition, I think Mr. Morrison's done some looking at the history of the various businesses with respect to that consideration as to whether or not the bidder is a low responsible bidder. You want to tell them what you found about that?
So the Secretary of State contains the business license for Larsoneer and also for Advanced Builders. Larsoneer has not had their contractor's license as long. And on the website, Advanced Builders was in good standing in all categories, but Larsoneer is showing under revenue standing not good with the state of Tennessee.
Now, what the Secretary of State says that means is to be in good standing with the Tennessee Department of Revenue means the Secretary of State has received and verified that all fees, taxes, and penalties due to the Tennessee Department of Revenue have been paid. And so if Larsoneer's business entity is reflected as not in good standing, then that indicates that they've failed to pay all their fees, taxes, and penalties due to the Department of Revenue. As Mr. Morrison said, the contractor's license for Larsoneer, as well as the Putnam County business license for Larsoneer, was just issued in July of 2025. So it's a new business in this area, and I don't mean any disrespect to this company by any means, and there may be some explanation for why they've failed to satisfy the Department of Revenue as they are required to do, but a relatively new business that has already evidently failed to satisfy the Tennessee Department of Revenue by paying their flag on top of and satisfying the department in that regard does raise a red flag on top of the fact that their bid does not meet the specifications in your agreement. So for those reasons, I need to recommend to you that you respectfully reject that bid, as it is a bid that does not meet specifications. You can choose whether or not you also think that these concerns about Larsoneer reflect on their status as a, quote, responsible bidder, close quote.
I personally am a little less concerned about the fees. Anyone get behind on fees. You see it all the time. I'm more concerned. We asked them for a quote on X, Y, and Z, and they gave us, it sounds like from what you're saying is they gave us a quote on A, B, and C. Might be some overlap there, but I didn't totally understand your monolithic slab structure. I think you understand this construction stuff better than I do, but it sounds like, a pole-barn structure. I get the concept. We asked for a standard constructed, I assume block wall or, standard building like a home type of wall, and that's not what they gave us.
You want to run this every time? I don't want to get in an airplane with a lower bid, fly with them. So are we going to have to run in this every time somebody gives us a bid?
If you have a bid that is low and you don't want to accept the lowest bid, that's fine if you have a valid and good reason to not accept the bid. So if you've got a history with a contractor and you're worried about their performance in the past or other jobs, or if their bid is low, perhaps because it doesn't meet the specifications, it's really, you don't have to go through this every time necessarily unless you're choosing a bid that's not the lowest bid. You want to articulate out loud your reason why not.
We've used this guy before. Right.
You're talking about advanced building contractors? So that business has been in business since, I think, 2011. And so that is a good reason to use that bidder. But if he's not the lowest bidder, or that business isn't the lowest bidder, if you're going to reject the lowest bid, you need to have a reason why, other than I just would prefer to do business with the guy that I've done business with other times. That's a good reason, but it's probably not good enough on its own. You need to have other reasons not to choose the lowest bidder. And the council's got discretion not to choose the lowest bidder. You just have to have some reason as to why this particular lowest bidder is not the one you want to choose. And you had that, but you need to articulate a little bit more. And that the bidder made a valid point with this challenge, and that's why you've rescinded that, and now you're considering it anew. So.
I've got a question. There's a third bid here that's really not comporting with the other two. I mean, that seems to be a big
Engineered what's called a red.
This is more curiosity than anything.
They went with a fully engineered what's called a red steel building, which is top of the line, top notch commercial construction. It's fully engineered. It's got full engineered specs. I mean, it's engineered down to the wire, and it's all metal construction. There's no framing, wood framing in it. It's all the red steel style metal building.
So like the first one, not exactly what we asked for in our bid specifications.
No, you can do it that way. It would meet it. They're going to build it on top of the slab foundation. It's just instead of having wood frame structure, it's all metal, bolted together.
I got you.
It like a Lego puzzle. You put it together and it bolts together a certain part in a certain place. The fire hall is built out of red steel. The shop at Public Works was red steel. So it's an option. It's just a very expensive option.
It's, in other words, it's a far above and beyond your specifications. So, and as a result, it appears to be significantly more expensive. If you wanted to choose the significantly better construction, you know, that may be a valid reason to do that too. But it is substantially more money, and I don't recommend that. And well, I think Mr. Hill's definitely said it, that he's concerned about it not meeting the specifications. If anybody else on the council shares that view, don't hesitate to speak up.
I'll make the second and just add to it exactly that. It's not meeting our bid specifications, and we've got history with the other company, so there's two significant factors in my opinion.
All right. We have a motion to approve Advanced Building Contractors for the park shop bid. We have a motion and a second. So I will ask all those in favor to say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right. We have approved Advanced Builders for the park shop. And as a specially called meeting, this is the only item that we can discuss. And so I would ask that we adjourn at this time unless the council has something else. Nothing else? Motion to adjourn. So be it. Okay. Thank you.